So you went for a walk, you had a bit of fishing, a walk with the dogs and a couple of pints. What was the deciding factor? Nigel Farage, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. The absolute deciding factor were the number of people I met in the street last week in Kent, in Lincolnshire, in Nottinghamshire, everywhere I went. People coming up, looking at me and saying, "Why are you not standing?" And I'd explain why I was not standing. And I saw a sort of slump of the shoulders, a sort of, "Nigel, we've supported you for years." You know, this people's army of millions who voted UKIP, voted Brexit Party, voted to leave the European Union. And I just got this terrible sense of guilt that I was actually letting them down and that I actually had to step up and do something. So that was the deciding factor, a real feeling that I was letting people down.
Journalists tried to pick a hole or gap between you and Richard Tice. They went on and on at it yesterday. What is the reality of your professional relationship?
I regret to say, Nick, I'm very sorry to say that there's no bad blood between us whatsoever. It's most unfortunate because the newspapers would love there to be a punch-up. But I've been with him this morning, actually, having a chat, and he's coming to Clacton with me in a moment.
Right.
And I have the most enormous respect for Rich, and I'll tell you why. He's kept that party going through times when everyone said there's no need for it. Boris has got a big 80-seat majority, Brexit's going to be done, the borders are going to be controlled, and Richard kept it going, rather like paying an insurance policy. He's put a lot of his own time and his own money into keeping it going. We worked together tremendously well when we launched the Brexit Party back in 2019. I was the leader, he was the chairman. We're back where we started in that sense. So no, it's classic print journalist games.
As you might dismiss the line that had Boris Johnson rewarded you with the knighthood or the elevation that he promised for your role in Brexit, you wouldn't now be leading reform. Is that true if you were Lord Farage, Nigel Farage?
I don't want to be in the House of Lords with that bunch of old crusties, thank you very much indeed. I want the thing to be abolished as it currently is. It's corrupt as hell, isn't it? You know, give the Tory party £1 million and become a Lord. It's a joke. What would have changed things is if they kept their promise to me. And their promise to me in 2019, and the basis upon which I stood down in over 300 seats and said to the country, look, you can vote for Boris if you want to, was they would actually deliver the Brexit that people voted for. There are people listening to this show right now who voted Brexit because they saw mass immigration as damaging the very fabric of our country, diminishing their quality of life. And you know what they've done? The opposite. 2.4 million people have settled in our country over the last 2 years. I mean, even Tony Blair couldn't get anywhere near that. So, no, that's the one thing. If they delivered it, I wouldn't be doing this now.
How is immigration to be controlled, Nigel Farage?
You have to stop the mass inflow of unskilled workers. And that was the specific pledge from the 2019 manifesto. And I know that the big employers are all moan. They love cheap foreign labour, absolutely, but they couldn't give a damn for the social consequences. Ask yourself why you can't get a GP appointment. Ask yourself why going to visit your Auntie Elsie takes 3 hours now, not an hour and a half. Ask yourself why your kids and grandkids can't get houses. Do you know we have to build one new house every 2 minutes in this country just to cope with legal net migration? And so we're living through a population crisis that is impacting all of our lives, and it cannot continue.
You meet someone in Essex or campaigning anywhere else and they say, oh, you're the man who brought us Brexit, the trade deals that never came for our economy, migration hasn't fallen, it's gone up, there wouldn't be checks at the border and they are, and they're costing tens of millions of pounds. How would you respond?
Yes, I would argue, well, on the economics of it, we've gone from being the world's 7th biggest exporter to the world's 4th biggest exporter, and we have signed trade deals all over the world. So that one part of it is actually going very well, and British business is becoming more global and a bit less European. I think that's a good thing. Checks on the borders. Hey, Nick, we live in a digitised age. Once we've got everything organised, it should be just as quick and easy as it was before. But the great betrayal is over immigration, and I now think Boris Johnson never intended to reduce immigration, and that is not a failure of Brexit, because Brexit gives us total control. It's a failure of this government, and remember, even before Brexit, the 2010 manifesto, the 2015 manifesto, and again in 17, the Tories promised to reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year. It's running now at 750,000.
But as a result of Brexit, Northern Ireland is almost out of the United Kingdom.
It is absolutely disgusting at every level.
Well, how was Northern Ireland ever meant to have been handled, Nigel Farage?
Because Theresa May sold the pass right at the very beginning. She bought this myth that if somehow we didn't carve Northern Ireland away, that the Troubles would break out again. That was never, ever a possibility. It was complete failure of the British negotiating position. And I've got great friends over in Northern Ireland, particularly the DUP party, and I feel very, very, frankly, ashamed of what the Tories have done to them.
What is the way forward for Northern Ireland? What would you seek to do? What should be done for them?
Well, we cannot have a border in the Irish Sea. We cannot have one part of the United Kingdom cut off from the other. In 2025, the British government will renegotiate the Brexit deal. That has to be looked at all over again. And funnily enough, even the Republic of Ireland, who are worried about people crossing the border from Northern Ireland into the Republic, even they are now talking about some form of check.
Lastly, you're a man who likes a punt. What number of seats would you put money on for Reform to deliver in the general election?
Ask me in a week's time and I'll answer that. I don't know.
What would be the determining factors, Mr. Farage?
Well, are we going to get millions of votes? Yes. When I led UKIP back in 2015, we got 4 million votes. I believe we're going to get many more votes than that in this election. I genuinely do. Something is going on out there. And increasingly, a lot of young people are feeling this way as well. There's a feeling the country isn't working, that it's broken. If I'm right, in a week's time, our polling numbers will be up and even with the Conservative Party. If we get to that point, I'll come on your show and I'll give you a prediction.
That's a deal. Lastly, and I think you'll reference TikTok, you say young people's interest is being spiked by this. What tells you that, Mr. Farage?
TikTok, which I've been doing for a lot longer than the Labour and Conservative parties, and I get millions and millions of views every month. And funny, I walked into a restaurant the other night. There was a curry house. There was a husband and wife, a couple of kids, probably about 10, 12. He says, "Mummy, look, it's the TikTok bloke."
You've been called a lot worse, I have to say.
Well, anyway. I know. And a lot of young people, this Generation Z, are rejecting the indoctrination at school and saying, the hell with it. We want to work hard. We want to get on. We want to make money. We want to have a house. But the world we're living in is making it very hard for us, and I feel very sorry for them.
The Only Way is Essex. Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK, is off to that constituency now, and I will hold you to that, Mr. Farage. I'll look forward to speaking with you in a week or so when you will give me a number that you will aim for Reform success, the number of MPs you hope to return.